It's no secret that the pandemic brought light to and repercussions to the teen mental health crisis that we're seeing right now. Apparently, the media is just now catching up on this, but there is a solution to improve teen mental health, and that is to start working on the relationship between the teen and their parent. In this Dr. Phil episode that I found, they have these two sets of teen and their parent come on the show as to kind of represent the overall teen mental health crisis and to help with the parent and the teen on what they both can do to help the teen's mental health and the relationship between one another. The first set is between Rakeem, who is 14 years old, and his mother, Jocelyn.
She doesn't like that I act like my father. I'm not intentionally acting like her father just to anger her.
I don't have a relationship with Rakeem's father right now. I get angry with Rakeem because he talks to me as though he is his father. And he speaks down to me like he's my authority figure. I have no idea how to communicate to him not to speak to me in this way because it just makes both of us at odds from the beginning, and we're not going to get anywhere with that.
The next set is between Kira, who is 11, and her mother.
Her phone away recently when we saw some disturbing text messages. It was a group text where they were talking about inappropriate things. One was a picture of a dog and a stripper, and another was a text about weed, and another was a text with a knife emoji. So my reaction to that was I was freaked out. They were very disturbing.
So if you feel like you're in somewhat similar relationship as to one of these examples, whether you're the parent or maybe you're the teen, stay tuned because you're gonna learn what you can do from the author of a book called Thrivers, The Surprising Reasons Why Some Kids Struggle and When Some Kids Shine, Dr. Michelle Borba. We are gonna start with Rakeem and Jocelyn. In this next video, you'll get a glimpse of kind of what their relationship is like.
I can't hold you to anything. Like, I can't hold you to anything. I didn't expect you to hold you to anything.
Like him, every time I ask you to do something, it's always something. And then you come sneaking in my room in the middle of the night and you take my phone. If you wanted a question for something, you can wake me up and ask me. You don't have the right to come into my room and take my things. And then I tell you to give me the phone and you won't give it to me?
You wonder why I don't want to.
You don't deserve a phone.
Is this something you experience? Maybe it's not that drastic, but is it similar? To my parents watching, how do you respond to situations like this? Or do you usually react?
It's like what we need to do is keep on that we're the one in charge, yes, but we also need to be calm and cool. The thing I think we also need to do is take the breath before we start speaking to our kids, so we don't react, we respond.
Calm, cool, and in charge. As a parent myself, this can be really hard to do sometimes. It is much easier just to react straight off your emotions. But it's much more beneficial to not only you, but to your teen to take a breath and then respond. Another great way to help build a better relationship with your teen is to start looking and focusing more on the positive things that they do, the things that they're good at, instead of focusing on the negative things or the things that we wish that they didn't do. Teens, I know you agree with that statement.
Well, what we know is that one of the best ways to create a relationship with our kids is to look for what they're good at as opposed to what their weaknesses are. What I had is 150 assets that are common that we see in kids, then each of them looked at it. Let's see what happens.
So in order to test how well Jocelyn knows her own son's strengths, Dr. Borba issued a survey between the both of them. And this is what she found.
He's independent, he's friendly, he has a good vocabulary, he's a speaker. The first thing we've got to do is start looking at.
So out of 150 options, they only had 5 answers that were the same and showed what Rakeem was good at. 5 out of 150? To me, that sounds like a lack on the parenting part.
Other things to build his strengths up, because if you want confidence in a kid, or at least relationship with a kid, you got to start with a little bit of the positive. Every kid needs to feel safe, accepted, and respected. I think that's lying real dormant with this kid.
I try not to judge others, I do my best, but later on in the episode, she does admit that she's basically given up on her son. And she says several things that are super cringy and also show me that she just doesn't really care anymore. Honestly, some of it's kind of humorous.
That either.
Getting into a wrestling match and taking a hammer to a monitor.
No, I'm not defending it at all, but I'm not apologizing for it either.
Okay.
Okay, even Dr. Phil is like, you gotta be kidding me. But seriously, come on. You have to take ownership of the relationship being at least somewhat your fault. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're always right. Rakim's father agrees.
And you agree that some of Rakim's behavior is not acceptable, right?
Oh, yeah, I've talked to him about his behavior, but she refuses to recognize her role in the situation. You can't openly mock a kid and disrespect him and then expect him to respect you. What kind of example are you showing him by disrespecting him?
100%. Respect goes both ways. Let's take it back to the teen side. Dr. Phil asks Rakim what he is good at. And, well, this is what he said. Or maybe a better way to phrase it is, this is something he didn't say.
So what are you good at?
Trying to think of something other than video games. That's like something easy to be good at. But
It bothers me that it took you so long to come up with things you're good at. And that's not all that uncommon, sadly.
He doesn't really have an answer, and I think Dr. Phil is right. So to my teens, do you know what you're good at? Can you think of at least 3 things that you are good at? I'd be interested to know if this was like a really simple task for you and you came up with 3 things like that, or if this was something you really had to put some thought into. If you did have to put some thought into it, that's okay. It's good that maybe for the first time ever, you're trying to identify your strengths. That is a step in the right direction. So keep that question in your brain, let it marinate for a little bit and see if you can come up with something. And let me know when you come up with something by commenting in the comments what your 3 strengths are. What are the 3 things you're good at? And I'll reply to you and tell you what my 3 things that I'm good at is. All right, so remember, there are 2 sets of, parents/teens. The other set is Kira and her mom. These 2.
Her phone away recently when we saw some disturbing text messages.
So Dr. Phil asks a really important question to the daughter, Kira.
Okay. What do you do that gives you a chance in your life right now to get rewards? Things that really light you up, that are fun, that if I do this, it could really pay me off.
I honestly don't know. I would watch a favorite TV show, or I would go surfing once a week as a reward for doing my homework. That's what I do.
And how do you feel when you do that? If you go surfing, what's the payoff for you?
It gets rid of some of the stress for that couple of minutes or hour. And so I wouldn't snap immediately after surfing, because I got to do something that's fun and that I do like to do.
Appreciate you all watching, by the way. Thank you so much, you 2 parents. But what I want to ask you is, do you have some sort of reward systems in place in your family? Are you rewarded by your parents for doing certain things? Or maybe you have a system where you reward yourself? I highly recommend it, as you probably know. Reward your efforts, not your results. Towards the end of the episode, Dr. Borba shares the 5 R's to change behavior. Now, teens and parents, take a good look at these 5 R's, and it may be a good idea to actually write these down.
We're going to do a makeover plan that it's 5 R's. They're real simple. The first one is recognize just the one little problem behavior. 1, no more than 2.
All right, parents, what is the one behavior you would like to focus on with your teen? Let everybody know down in the comments. The next R is replacer, which is really specific for my teens watching. This one can honestly be a game changer for you.
what are you going to do to be able to get rid of that stress the moment it hits? And you're very good, by the way, of knowing where your stress is. You were able to identify, you felt it in your stomach, you could feel your heart rate coming on. So what you're going to teach her is to replace it with what I call a 1-2 breathing. It's so simple. The moment you start to feel that stress, you take a deep, slow breath from real temp in your tummy, like you're riding up an elevator. Get to the very top and hold it, and slowly let it out. That sounds so simple. I learned that from Navy SEALs, the most elite forces in the world.
If this is how the Navy SEALs de-stress themselves at a moment's notice, it's probably the best way to do. So start practicing it. And parents, you start practicing it too. This is something that I think both parties need to encourage one another to do and to practice. Lead by example for the other one. The fourth R is for us parents out there. Reinforce the appropriate behavior.
Mom, now you're going to respond. Be calm with your response. Empathize. I know this is hard, sweetie. I know it's hard, but I assure her it's going to get better. Let's track how often you're trying it. Let's keep going with it. You're reinforcing the good behavior, not the bad time. And
this goes back to us parents having to notice the good behavior. It's easy to see the negative behavior. You know, our brains are wired to just look straight at that. But you really have to make sure that you take notice and have an eye out looking for the good behavior. So not only do you see it, but you can acknowledge them and say, hey, I see what you did there. I appreciate that. Thank you. This starts to build respect for one another. Lastly, the fifth R is remain resolute, which means you have to keep at this. You have to stay consistent with this, not try it one day and give up the next.
So stressed as parents, and sometimes what we do is we get ourselves overwhelmed. I think our biggest mistake is inconsistency or not enough follow through. I would suggest find one behavior you want to really change, one little behavior, and track your own behavior on how often are you doing it. Every day for at least 21 days. It's simple little things that add up, and that's what they can make a major difference on our children's lives. It's not easy. It's not easy. But this is the one thing we've got to do right. We've only got this one moment to be the parent, and our kids are hurting, so we got to turn this around.
All right, so now parents and teens have some action steps here, right? Teens, start working on that replacement. I suggest using that breathing technique that we learned from, Navy SEALs. Parents, help your teens with this. Also, start working on this yourself so you can better respond instead of react. Teens, figure out what your strengths are. Need help? Ask a friend who knows you really well what they think your strengths are. Parents, start thinking about what your teen's strengths are. Do you know what they are? And take ownership, you two teens, of fault for the relationship being the way that it is. Now, I'm not saying take all of it, but more than likely, some of this is to fall on you as well. And identify the problem behavior that you want to work on. And lastly, reinforce, encourage, and praise your teen when they do the appropriate behavior, when you see them go the extra mile, when you see things that you like, make sure that you do those things. So what did you find most helpful in this video? I want to hear from both my parents and my teens. So let me know down in the comments. If you are still watching this video to this point, seriously, thank you so much. Like, you all are my early supporters, and I will never forget, your first 100 subscribers. And if you're watching that and you're one of those, I appreciate it. Just always know that you will be one of the first 100 of the, the million subscribers that I get in the future. So if you aren't a subscriber yet, make sure you're in that first 100. So subscribe, hit the little notification bell. That way you know the next time that I post a video, which, quick hint, it'll be on Thursday every week. Also, did you see the video I posted a couple weeks ago about Andrew Tate? Very interesting, especially since very recently he was deplatformed off all social media. People seem to be very split on whether his message is helpful or it's... So watch this video and let me know what you think. Peace.